Why? Is there a more powerful word? It only has 3 letters, but it opens a world of possibilities when you ask it. You know, kids ask it a lot. Why this? Why that? Because. It can go on and on. And kids have that innate need to know why. Have we forgotten to, as adults, to ask why? And I encourage you to really consider that powerful word in everything that you do. Always be asking yourself, why? Someone that I follow a lot is Simon Sinek, and he's done a great job of outlining many things that we need to consider our motivations and why we do what we do. And in his quote here, he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. You know, Martin Luther King gave the I have a dream speech, not a I have a plan speech. And there's a significant difference. When you understand your why, everything else aligns up. And it's so important to start with why and question what you're doing today in order to discover what you need to do tomorrow. So think about, why do you do what you do today as a farmer? I'm sure many of you do it because of your family. You're motivated to be successful and make an income and support and coach and mentor your family and watch them grow and develop their own lives. Many of you do it because you want to have an abundant lifestyle. You want to have experiences that you don't have from just doing everyday things. You want to have better. You want to enjoy all that God has provided for us. And others of you do it for achievement, being able to farm more land, have nicer equipment, be recognized as a farmer leader, to really understand and be an influencer in your community. All of these are great goals of why we do what we do. And there's many, many other things that motivate people to do what they do. But I want to ask you a little deeper question. Why do you farm the way that you do? What influences you? Is it friends and family, community members at the church or various clubs that you're in a peer group and there's peer pressure to keep doing what you're doing because, you know what, I really don't want to stand out because you don't want to be that guy? Do they have your best interests in mind? Maybe you're stuck with the equipment and the assets that you have. When you've got millions of dollars in equipment to do things the way that you've always done, it's very tough to make a switch to a different crop, a different production methodology, because you have those costs built in to what you're currently doing. Or my favorite, maybe it's the alphabet soup of government programs. That's causing you to farm the way that you do. You're trying to meet all of the compliance issues, trying to take advantage of all the extra revenue income opportunities associated with farming for our government. It's a mess. We spend a ton of time figuring out, are we in compliance? Did we maximize the benefit of crop insurances? Did we maximize the benefit of the latest trade war payout? It's nuts how much time we spend to just satisfy and or maximize the opportunity given to us through the Farm Service Agency. And then there's other agencies too where we're dealing with groundwater pumping and surface water rights and air pollution. It's just an alphabet soup of craziness that we have to deal with. But is that driving our decisions and why we farm the way we do? I think it does. Ask yourself this. What if you started with a soil health first approach? Instead of worrying about the peers and what you're doing and always done and worrying about what the government tells you to do, what if you just started with the basics of, this is what the soil is telling me to do? What would it look like on your farm? What if you eliminated glyphosate on your farm, neonicotinoids, and eliminated GMOs? Do you really think the public wants us using those things? I think they've spoken rather loud. So why are we doing it? What if we learn to farm without these tools and farm in a way that is better aligned with soil health? What if I brought livestock back to the land? Wow, that's crazy. I spent my entire childhood tearing out fences and tearing down barns, taking out water lines because, dadgummit, we're going to farm crops. And that's what crop farmers do. But what if I considered doing the opposite and bringing livestock back to the land? Just because I've made a mistake in the past doesn't mean I need to keep making that mistake in the future. What if I connected closer to the people buying food? Rather than bringing a grain crop into the terminal or the ethanol plant or to the rail siding, what if I grew food-based crops that went to a mill to feed somebody? Or I grew specialty crops that have more of a direct link to the consumer? Or what if I did a little bit of specialty grains and ancient grains and sold directly online on a website? What if I did pastured proteins and sold them directly to consumers? What would that be like? You see, I believe farmers will do the right thing. That's how we're wired. We are wired to do the right thing. It's just innate in our nature. But we have to know the right thing to do. We have to know that truth in order to do the right thing. How do I know about these questions? I've asked them of myself. And every one of those questions I've answered because I've come to learn things at AgEmerge that called into question what I was doing. So I had two opportunities as a result of that. Ignore it, go on my merry way, and get involved in the day-to-day hustle and bustle of just making things happen. Or I could do it right, put forward extra effort, and get to a new production paradigm, which I'm in the process of doing, and I'll always be in the process of doing, just like you are. Your operation is not static. You don't do the same thing every year. It's always changing. But are we changing for the good? This is a quote that I really enjoy, and it talks about truth. It passes through three stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. And third is accepted as self-evident. Like, whoa, that just seems crazy. First off, it's made fun of, and then it's, censored or violently opposed, and, people are made fun of and attacked because of it. And then the next stage is, yeah, it's always been like that. You think back several things, whether in culture, society, in farming, that's a pretty common pattern. And when you look at regenerative ag right now, it's in the ridiculed stage. It's like, you can't do that because you can't produce enough food to feed the world. Or, we don't have the skill to do that. Or, it just isn't going to work. That's for a bunch of kind of crazies out there. We'll be coming up on the second stage pretty soon, where it's violently opposed. And that will include landlords that are like, no, you can't do that. It'll include companies not giving us the options for the tools and equipment that we need, not developing it fast enough for what we need to make this happen. It'll come in direct opposition ways from herbicide or chemical companies and seed companies that want to maintain the status quo. But then after we go through that transition period, it's just what we do then, right? So it'll be really interesting to watch that regenerative path as we move forward. This is a photo from my farm. This is an original home farm. It's been in our family for 150 years. When I look out over that hill there, it's a 50-acre hill, I see all the results of good and bad decisions over the last 150 years. I can look at the bad decisions of moldboard plowing up and down that hill and the erosion and the 8 foot of fill dirt that's in the bottom and the denuded topsoil on the sides of those hills. I can look and see modern bad decisions of that oak tree right there where we used to spray glyphosate around the base of trees in order to not have to weed trim around them. And I'm sure others have done that too, and I can see the limb dieback there. But I also can see the good going on here. That field is green. It is ready to be planted into. The soil is holding in place with no erosion. We're pumping carbon into that soil. We're feeding the microbial life. We're doing all of the right things. In fact, we've brought cattle back to the land. At one time, my great-great-grandfather had 6 different species of animals and 6 different species of crops that he was raising on that 80 acres. We're not close to that diversity yet, but we're getting there. And those cattle are turning sunlight into fertilizer. And they're feeding the microbial community, doing things far faster than we could ever do with just no-till and cover crops alone. Now, was that easy to do? Absolutely not. It required starting from scratch in order to make it all possible. But I started with a soil health focus first approach, and I knew that's what's best for the soil. I'm going to do that. And if I do that, everything else in my operation aligns. So I start with the truth and let it come into fruition versus worry about what I'm currently doing or what everybody else thinks of me in order to make it possible for great soil health. Our farm today, we have lots of opportunities to try things and put soil health practices to work. In the upper left there is our planter. We're variable rate applying row by row 3 different nutrient packages in 5 locations, along with the ability to put on 2 different hybrids at the same time, all computer controlled by soil type, soil texture, organic matter, and EC. We've done things where we've planted a field with 2 different crops based on the slope. On the sloped areas, we put in a regenerative type cover crop and grazed it. In the flatter areas, we planted soybeans. Who says you have to plant in straight rows? You can see on the upper right there where we have gone through and planted into extraordinarily heavy residue that was previously grazed and get great stands. It's not an issue. We've worked with 60-inch corn, had good success, but still trying to find the right fit. We've worked with corn and wheat, beans and wheat together in a corridor approach right there on our farm. We've found some great results with that when we've had some train wrecks with it. But if we didn't have the train wrecks to learn, we wouldn't have the great results today. We also pioneered the skip strip here on the green cover. So we actually don't plant one of the rows and leave it for the 30-inch row planter to go right through and leave an undisturbed seed trench to maximize yield potential. And we've worked with intercropping and those kind of things on our farm to see if we can make cover crops grow during the cash crop. This is an example of a great picture of a lot of the different things we got going on simultaneously. In the background there, you can see a high clearance sprayer that is seeding cover crops into a standing corn crop. And that corn crop is food grade corn, able to get a 75-cent premium. And then in the foreground, we can see our sheep flock. And what are they doing right here? Well, this is at our bend site, and we're using the sheep to control weeds and to control grass and mow it down and regenerate the grass and weeds around our bend site. They don't bother any electrical controls at all, and they do a lot better job than us having to go around and spray stuff or run a weed eater. It's just using things that we have at our disposal to maximize their value. So I took this one step further, and we're raising a great quality protein product, integrating livestock on our farm, and I thought, there's people who really want this. So we started Grateful Graze, and this is a direct-to-consumer company to where we connect our farm to families. And we've hosted a lot of events to educate the public on what is going on today on the farm because they're so disconnected. The upper left-hand corner, we hosted a sectional soil judging contest. Doug Pitts was able to show the kids how roots and soil interact on different slopes and with different grazing and different cover crops. It was a great time. We invite the public out to our farm just to get away from it all and be in our pasture for our annual concert with the cows. People love it. They didn't know that cows love music too. And then we invite them, they pay to come to our farm and tour and see how we move the livestock, why we plant the cover crops, how this all works, and understand where their food is coming from. Then we deliver directly to their door. We give them great recipes to work with. And then we partner with other leaders, such as these two medical doctors here and a chiropractor in the foreground. It's amazing what we're trying to do to tell that soil health story. So not only are we doing the soil health principles, we are sharing and trying to teach others about a principles-first approach to agriculture. So I get asked this question a lot. It's like, why would a fertilizer company advocate regenerative ag? You've heard a lot of the speakers say, you don't need to put any fertilizer out there, it just all take care of itself. Well, the simple answer is, regenerative agriculture is the truth. And if it's the truth, let's just say, why are we waiting out the inevitable? So we know that this is the direction it's going to go once it goes through the 3 phases of truth, and we're going to be there supporting you at the end. And the reality is we have to regenerate our soils, and we have to do it now. Sustainable is just not good enough. And what we call sustainable today, it isn't sustainable. If it can't last for 1,000 years doing what we're doing, it don't pass the test. We have to do much, much better. So reality, Ag Solutions Network is not a fertilizer company anyway. We really are a crop production system company. We're putting together the best of basic science and discovery research into a proven program that you can maximize on your farm. We happen to have some fertilizer products that augment the plant when it needs it most to accomplish your goals, but it's part of a system, not just peddling fertilizer. Our biologically based system has aligned with the regen movement way before it was cool. We were doing regenerative ag principles and soil health principles before they'd even come up with the name. One other thing is, the reason we do this is it's farmer owned, and I'm the farmer that's leading the charge with this. A friend of mine, Will Harris, has a saying, and there's only 3 things in this world that you cannot hide: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Eventually, you will see all 3. So knowing that this is inevitable, we really look at why we're doing what we're doing. And this truth is all about abundant life. AgEmerge was created to help you discover the truth. Ag Solutions Network exists to guide you every step of the way from where you are today to where you want to get to. Honestly, I'm not an inventor. I have lots of ideas, but they're not original ideas. I put different things together from different places. I'm a synthesizer. I look at good ideas and think how they could be applied somewhere else. I look at 3 ideas and how they could work together. That's what I do, and that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, together we're all going to create healthy soils, plants, and animals. We're going to connect food raised right with families, and we're going to rebuild communities and ecosystems, part of the unintended benefit of regenerative agriculture. Bottom line, we choose to prosper life. 4 years ago, I went to visit my friend Gabe Brown at his ranch up in Bismarck, North Dakota, just to see if this was real. There's what I looked like. I took a selfie when I left. I had a headache. I was just overwhelmed, and I know how you feel right now. But I knew I had to do it. Because again, if you teach a farmer the right thing to do, he or she will do it. So I'm counting on you to move regenerative agriculture forward, and we're going to be here to help you do it. So let's do better, farm better, be better together.